In this lesson, we will use the other macro that we have in our code. So the macro that we just used before was the call macro. Now we are going to use the runtime macro. And what does this macro do? Basically, this macro will create all the code that we don't need to create ourselves. So basically, it will parse the struct representing the runtime and see what are the palettes that are included in our runtime. So in this case, let's go there. So what are the palettes that we have? For example, we have the balances palette, we have the proof of existence palette, and we can have other palettes. So it will iterate to this and look for palettes and automatically generate all the code, the runtime calls, and the execute block, and the dispatch, and all this stuff. So we will have to remove all this code because the macro will be generating this for us. So what is the exercise here? First of all, let's add this runtime on top of our struct runtime. So let's add it here. Okay. And now, of course, it's gonna give us a lot of errors, and we are going to fix all of them one by one. So it's telling me some stuff here that I need to look here. So for example, we have to remove the runtime implementation block because we don't need to implement the runtime, the dispatch. We don't need this anymore. Everything is automatically created by our macro. Okay, what else do I need to do? Runtime code block. The entire runtime code block. So we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. Remove all the runtime implementation. Okay, so what else do we need to do? We need to remove the definition of runtime calls because we don't use them anymore. Don't need them. It's automatically generated by our macro. And magically, everything is working except that the names are different. Now we don't have balances anymore. It's balances with the lowercase b, and the same goes for proof of existence because now it is using camel case instead of it's using snake case instead of camel case. And now if I run the code, everything is working. And look how simple my code is. So basically my runtime is just the list of palettes that I need to use, their type configuration, and that's it. Nothing else. Every new palette that I create, it will be much simpler because now I will use the macros inside the palettes to create the calls that I need to add to my runtime. And then I will just add this to the structure, basically listing the palette here in the runtime structure. And later on, it will automatically generate the code for me. If you look at the macro, you see that this macro has all the information inside it. If you look at the macro code and expand, you see that the code that we had there, for example, the new to create the runtime, the execute block function, everything is created. This is the old code that we had before, but now it's inside the macro. And you're gonna see that this code, and these are the templates that are expanding. So for example, it's taking all the palette names, and then it's expanding it to create the enums. And in this one, it's expanding all the palettes names to create the dispatches and so on. So you see that macro code is similar to a templating code. And right now, we just finished our macro lessons.